Module 3, starting off. You're not going to hear very much from me in this. This is one of those modules, one of those times where you need to get down, get your head down, start reading, start thinking, and just starting some of the grunt of learning some material actually. Now some of you are going to be quite familiar with this material, others not at all. So that means that some of you just need to brush through and maybe go to the end there and see how you go with the tests, the quizzes at the end. And maybe that'll point you back into the material. Others need to work on absorbing a whole new set of concepts and ideas. This module is designed very much for the latter group. It's designed to lead those who've not really had any exposure to the main focus of sociological theory, and to give you some chance to absorb the ideas of that and to get started. Let me just start though by thinking about our times again, reading the zeitgeist, the zeitgeist, the spirit of our time. I wonder how many of you get conversations that go something like this. Hey, how are you? Oh, yeah, good. Busy? You? Oh yeah, likewise. There's a paper written in the New South Wales Public Health Bulletin, as you see referenced there. Too busy, why time is a health and environmental problem, in the Centre of Epidemiology and Population Health at the ANU. And you see in the abstract, time pressure is emerging as a modern malaise. Linked in changes in working life, longer work hours, faster work pace, compounded in families, and so it goes. Challenges urban health and environmental policy. People need time to keep healthy, to exercise. If urban designs and environmental solutions can reduce time demands, they may directly improve health social outcomes. And you get to see there a sense of quite a functionalist approach actually to research. But there's some interesting questions that arise, not least of course is this something of your experience? Does this sound like you in some ways? Do you feeling challenged for time? And how many of you get conversations like that? How often you describe how you are in terms of being busy? What is going on here? Questions worth asking, I think. And that's going to give you that question about this kind of issue, time pressure in the contemporary world, to start thinking about how you might start to explain this sociologically. Going just a little bit further, some other sources, research showing some of the things going on. 2007, 82% of couple families with children under 15 where both parents were employed. One or both parents always or often felt rushed or pressed for time. ABS is Australian Bureau of Statistics. Fascinating stuff. 82% of people with children under 15 who are both working feeling rushed or pressed for time. Now that's what they're reporting. Of course what's going on in ordinary life, in real life, is another question, but this is what they say is happening. They're certainly feeling it out there. And the results of this are summarised in this table. Both couples working, children under 15, 82%. Child under 15, none of them working, 66% report feeling pressed for time. A couple, no children, only one employed, 67% say they're feeling rushed for time. So even without children, that's happening. Not part of a couple, single parent, with a child under 15, employed, 66% of those reported feeling rushed for time. The groups are getting under 60%, single couple, single parents, one with child, unemployed, 58%, and there we see a single person, no children, employed, reporting 53%. So everybody, every group, at least a small majority, are reporting feeling pressed for time. Just notable in this, mothers in couple families tend to feel rushed or pressed for time more often than fathers, regardless of their or their partner's employment status. Fascinating data coming through there. So if we start to think about moving along a little bit from the sociological imagination, it's going to ask questions like how might we explain the personal issue of time pressure in ways consistent with Mill's depiction of the sociological imagination, to one that starts to pitch at broad sociological theory. How might we account for the personal issue of time pressure according to structural functionalist views of the world, conflict theory views of the world, symbolic interactionist views of the world? These are the big three. I mentioned them at the outset of this course. This is the task for this week, is to understand these three theoretical perspectives, and I'm giving you a way in which you might apply the ideas to a particular type of question. So for this module, you're required to show more than a passing familiarity with structural functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism. A way of capturing it, I'm suggesting that you draw up a table along these lines into your computers or devices, or onto using pen and paper. Make them big enough to be able to contain the amount of information that's going to be in there. But this is what you're aiming for. This is what you'll be quizzed on. You're being able to grasp the main ideas, to link some of the significant theorists, to identify the strengths, and to also to be able to discuss the weaknesses of these theoretical perspectives. So we're thinking about this in terms of then exercising the sociological imagination. I want to introduce you to a term that you may have already picked up in what you've been reading: reflexivity. Self-reference, examination or action bends back on, so a reflex, refers to, affects the entity instigating the action or examination. So that's a description of reflex. So in this sense, in the social science sense, it refers to the capacity of an individual to recognize forces of socialization and alter his or her place in the social structure, to be able to respond to a stimulus in ways that make some sort of difference in a life, in your life. So let's have a think about, reflexively, let's think about late modernity, characterized by its fast pace, longer working hours, 24-hour culture, feelings of being rushed or harried, time perceived as a commodity, a finite resource that we try to save, use more efficiently, and to avoid wasting. So, to what extent does your experience reflect this portrayal of contemporary Western life? And is there any reason to think that Australians are less rushed, less harried than persons living in other parts of the world? Perhaps people from other parts of the world may be able to give us some ideas about that, about how it's looking from your part of the world. And of course, one of your challenges is to see what research is showing about these sort of questions where you live. Now, there's a question you might want to just spend a little bit of time on at the immediate conclusion of this presentation, which hasn't got much further to go, I can assure you. And then at the end, what I want you to be able to do is to do something like this. How might we account for the personal issue of time pressure according to broad sociological theorizing? So, how would a structural functionalist explain time pressure, a conflict theorist, and what does a symbolic interactionist make of this issue? Now, asymbolic interactionists, there are many. There are many conflict theorists. Be aware of that. You're trying to get hold of the broad brushstrokes as much as possible. But of course, a well-informed commentary on this is also going to start paying some attention to some of the variations within that. Good luck with it. Hope you were able to go well with it. And I'll check in. We'll check in with this as we go along. As I say, now it's time to put in some of the grunt work and satisfy yourself that you're able to address these sorts of questions. Maybe we'll pick up on this in the next module a little bit. Bye now.